Hey there, welcome back to Tim Talks Cooking. Today we are talking Keto Impossible Cheeseburger Pie. You heard me right, folks. That's Keto Impossible Cheeseburger Pie. Today we're going to do my twist on the Betty Crocker Impossibly Easy Cheeseburger Pie. And I think you're going to love this recipe. It's very low carb, it's high fat, it's perfect for you keto dieters. Let's get started. Here's what you'll need to make this delicious recipe. It starts off with a pound of ground beef. This is 73/27. You could use 80/20. That's the ratio of flesh to fat. This is pretty high fat hamburger. I think it'll be good for this dish. It was also very cheap. About a cup or a cup and a half of freshly shredded sharp cheddar cheese. You can use any cheese that you like to shred. I shred it myself because if you buy it already shredded, it has cornstarch or potato starch or some other substances that have some carbs on it to keep the shreds separate. I just don't want that. I've also got a half a cup of bacon bits. This is bacon that I cooked myself and then just cut into bite-sized chunks. 2 teaspoons of Worcestershire sauce. A tablespoon of Dijon mustard. A half teaspoon each of freshly ground black pepper and kosher salt, as well as a half a teaspoon of garlic powder. We're also going to need 12 pickle slices. I use 12 because this makes 4 servings, and I usually use 3 pickle slices per hamburger when I make that. Now there's also kind of a pastry part of this. As you know, if you've had this before, it's sort of a mixture of the meat mixture and the pastry. Here we're going to use a half a cup of almond flour. This is blanched almond flour. You could use unblanched, of course, if you like. Half a teaspoon of gluten-free, aluminum-free baking powder. You can make this yourself by using equal amounts of baking soda and cream of tartar. 2 large eggs as well. And a half a cup of heavy whipping cream and a half a cup of water. You're also going to need a pie plate. This is a 9-inch pie plate that I've sprayed with cooking spray. Preheat your oven to 400 degrees while we prepare the filling. I'm going to start off by cooking our hamburger. Here I've preheated my skillet over medium-high heat for a few minutes, and so when I put it in there it sizzles nicely. Here I'm going to add already the kosher salt and freshly ground black pepper. After a few minutes, it looks like this. I'm just going to continue to stir it and to break it up with my spatula. And you can see there's a lot of fat that's accumulated in the bottom of the pan that's rendered. We're not going to use that in our dish. That's really too much fat for us. So once this gets browned, we're going to strain some of that off. Here, as you can see, we've got no more pink. And so I'm going to turn off the heat. I'm going to remove this to the strainer. And carefully, of course, because we don't want to get it all over the stove. Let's put the batter together. Starts off with our 2 eggs, which I'm just going to lightly beat here. And add to our bowl. Next we're going to add in our almond flour. Make sure we get as much of it out of there as we can. There we go. The water. And the heavy cream. And finally, the baking powder. Get that in there. Make sure we incorporate that completely. And now I'm just going to set this aside while we put our filling together. Notice here I put about a tablespoon or 2 of the hamburger drippings in my pan. This is the same pan I cooked the hamburger in, and I haven't washed it out. There's a reason for that. I want that fat. Here I'm going to add in my onions. This has been heating up over medium-high heat. We're going to cook these until they're translucent, because we don't want crunchy onions in our final dish. After about 3 minutes, here's what it looks like. You can see some of the onions, because my skillet is very hot, have started to caramelize. That's alright, that's going to be delicious. I've turned the heat down, however, because I really want to cook these a little bit more until they're really translucent You can see some of them are still pretty solid white color. That means they're still going to have a crunchy texture. Just 2 minutes later, this is much more like it. Everything is translucent and soft. And here I'm going to turn the heat off. We're going to combine the rest of the ingredients for the meat filling here. I'm just going to put the hamburger back in. The bacon bits. Dijon mustard. Garlic powder. The Worcestershire sauce. I'm going to stir that all together. Notice I haven't included the cheese yet. I don't want that to all melt yet. I'm going to combine these thoroughly before I pour them into my pie plate. There we go. Get all of it in there, of course. Next, I'm going to add the cheese. Get all that in there and stir it in a little bit. This is kind of a messy little pie. It's going to have pockets of cheese in it. It's going to be delicious. This is really one of my favorite quick dinners. Looking good, right? Next, our pickles. I'm just going to kind of distribute them around. We like a lot of pickles. You could cut these into smaller pieces if you like. They become kind of soft in the cooking, and they're really good, really tangy. And lastly, we've got our batter here. Kind of a homemade Bisquick batter. I'm just going to pour that in. And of course, make sure we get every last drop of it if we can. Give it a shake. Maybe a little bit of a stir to make sure we get the batter everywhere. You can tilt it a little bit like I'm going to do here. It'll kind of even itself out in the oven too. Anyway, there we go. This goes into our 400-degree oven for 25 minutes or until it's golden brown on top. And here's what it looks like after 25 minutes in the oven. You can see when I shake it, it really doesn't move much. It's nice and set. We're going to sprinkle just a little more cheddar cheese on top. Why not? Now, of course, you can skip this step if you want. I think this makes it really nice. I'm going to put a little cheddar cheese here and there. And next, I'm going to distribute it nice and evenly if I can. And next, I'm going to put this under the broiler for just a few minutes to get it nice and browned. And here we are after just a few minutes under the broiler. Now we're going to let this cool for about 20 minutes before we slice it. Our pie is nicely cooled off now, and I'm going to just loosen the edges. You can see that's going to come out pretty nicely. Just going to loosen the edge by running a knife along the edge like this. There we go. Like I said, 4 very hungry people, 6 not quite as hungry people if you like. I'm going for the 4 right now. We're pretty hungry tonight. You're going to see we're going to garnish this with ketchup and mustard, or really whatever condiments you like. You could use mayonnaise or sriracha. I actually have some of the sauce from my Scotch eggs. I think that'll just be delicious on this. Anyway, as you'll see, serving it up is not a problem. Let me just show you. Once we've loosened the edge, we're going to go underneath it pretty confidently here. Shove it in there and just pull it out nice and cleanly. And there's our lovely slice. To garnish, I like to drizzle with some low-carb ketchup. And I'll put a link on the screen to my recipe for sugar-free ketchup. Let's get plenty of that in there. We're going to love that. I'm also going to use a nice amount of some regular old yellow mustard. And let's just make it kind of cute on there like this. And there's our dish. Well, all right, let's give this a taste. Smells so great in here. Oh yeah, I think you're going to love this dish. Really savory with the hamburger, the bacon, the cheddar cheese, and of course you've got that sweet ketchup, you've got the tangy pickle and American mustard. That is so delicious. I really hope you try this recipe. I also hope that you will like, share especially on Facebook, comment, please comment, and subscribe. Also click on that notifications bell. Every time I upload a video, which is a couple of times a week, you'll be notified. It helps my channel grow, and it'll help you find my videos. Thanks so much for watching us here today. We'll catch you next time at Tim Talks Cooking.